Hi, welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at my top 12 budget tents. So these are all tents that I've purchased for less than £100. Some of them new, some of them used, some of them on eBay, some on Facebook, some of them on Gumtree. I'm going to go through from the most expensive through to the very cheapest, and then once I've done that I'm going to just talk you through my top tips for finding really cheap used or new tents. So it's not going to be me just sat here talking to you. We're going to go back through all of my footage that I've taken with these tents. So it's going to be hopefully a quick introduction to each tent, showing it out in the wild and stuff, and giving my impressions of the tent and some basic specs. So let's get straight into it. So number 12 is my Jack Wolfskin Gossamer 1 tent. Now this is a really good tent. It cost me 80 quid including posters on eBay. It was pretty much brand new, didn't even look like it'd been out of the bag, to be honest, didn't look used at all. A really good tent, this one. Packs down pretty small, not the lightest tent in the world at 1.75 kilos, but it is well spec'd. The tent is in a pitch first, but you can kind of outgrow the outer on and pitch it all in one. It's got two dark green poles, and the specs on terms of the materials are really good. So it's got a 5,000mm fly sheet and a 10,000mm ground sheet. It just comes with standard aluminium hook pegs. So an extremely robust tent. It's like a cross between a bivvy tent, a sort of bivvy and a tent. It's very low profile, very compact, but extremely tough. Supposed to be incredibly good in bad weather. I've done a summit pitch with quite a lot of wind and rain. It was absolutely rock solid because it's so low profile. And obviously with those stats, you know, the 5,000mm on the height on the fly sheet and the 10,000 on the ground sheet, it is going to be extremely waterproof. So it has a few fans on YouTube. There's a few people who use it all the time in all sorts of different weather. So it is a highly respected tent. So for less than £100, I'm not sure you'll get tougher than this tent. And the good thing is that 80 quid is not an absolute bargain price to pay for one. I've seen them go a lot cheaper. I've seen them go around the £50 to £60 mark. But if you are in the market for one, you can pretty much pick one up on eBay in really good, near new condition for about the £80 marks pretty consistently. So a really good tent and a good way to start. Number 11. Bit of a beast of a tent, this one. It's a Vaude Arco 3-person tunnel tent. So it's quite heavy, over 3 kilos. I think it's 3.75 kilos, so it's quite a bulky tent. Cost me £58 including postage on eBay. Really amazing condition, didn't look hard to use at all, and comes with its original Vaude footprint, which is a really nice bit of kit as well. Covers the whole underside of the tent and the whole porch, so it's a really nice, good deal for that. And it is, I would say, you could fit 3 people into this tent. It's pretty generous. So in terms of stats, it is an outer pitch tent, or you can pitch it all in one, and it weighs 3.75 kilos. It's got Union T9 alloy poles, 10.3mm, so extremely tough, robust poles. It's got decent aluminium pegs, and it's got a 3,000mm hydrostack head on the fly sheet, 5,000mm on the ground sheet. So it is a pretty tough, robust tent. I've taken it for a summit camp, and it was extremely windy that night. I was in my cheap Aldi Adventuridge low profile tent, which was doing okay in the middle of the night. But I was quite concerned at how windy it was, so I did get out and checked on the Vaude, which my brother and his 2 boys were staying in, and it was absolutely fine. Really strong, really good tunnel tent. So yeah, a really good deal, that one. Next up at number 10, it's my first vintage tent in this collection. It's from a Saunders Jetpacker tent. Extremely small, extremely lightweight, packs down really tiny. It's only got 2 really small aluminium poles to support it. Really respected and lovely tent, this one. In terms of specs, it's got it weighs 1.2 kilos excluding pegs. Comes with just 2 tiny aluminium poles, which is why it's so light and so compact. It's an outer pitch first tent. The inner is a little bit fiddly to pitch, and it's classed as probably a 1.5 person tent. So you could absolutely squeeze 2 people if you absolutely had to, but it wouldn't be a very spacious experience. But for 1 person, you've got plenty of room for gear and stuff. It's a really well-respected tent, quite sought after as well. Cost me £45 on Facebook, and that is including postage because it wasn't local to me. But it's a really nice little tent. It's supposed to be very storm-worthy as well. Gets a lot of positive reviews online. Lots of people have used it for many, many years. So it is a really nice tent. I don't know what the hydrodynamic ratings are, but it's ripstop nylon material, so should be pretty good. I've given it a good rain test as well, and it survived that, even though it is quite vintage. So probably anywhere from the 1980s onwards is tent. So no idea how old this particular one is, but it's in really good condition. And yes, Robert Saunders tents are good ones to look for on the used market. At number 9, we have another vintage Robert Saunders tent. This one is the oldest tent in my collection. It's a Robert Saunders Fellpine tent. You can see from the look of the bag that this is a pretty aged thing. Very, very similar design to the Jetpacker, but just bigger, bulkier, bigger inside, bigger porch, much thicker aluminium poles. Certainly 2 of them. It's a nice ridge tent. But yeah, I've not taken this for a camp yet. I've given it a really good rain test in the garden, because I think this tent is from the 1970s, so it could be around 50 years old. But it's extremely good condition. Some of the rubber's a little perished on some of the things and need replacing. But in terms of the tent, I put it up in some really heavy rain. It was absolutely waterproof, which was just really impressive, because it doesn't even look like it's seam sealed, so it's just either folded seams or it's seams that are designed for the water to run off onto the outside. And it is nylon as well. One of the earliest manufacturers who used nylon was Robert Saunders. So yeah, a really good tent, this one. It's a 1.5 person tent, maybe 2 people at a push, but it is a bit bigger than a Jetpack, a bit bulkier, but a bit more internal height and a really good porch space as well. It's a really nice bit of design. So I paid £40 on Facebook for this one, able to pick it up locally. So I think £40 is a fair price for a tent of this vintage and quality. I hope to take it out for a camp soon. So yeah, that'll definitely be one on the channel soon. And even though it is quite a bit bigger than a Jetpacker, it still comes in under 2 kilos at 1.95 kilos. So not too heavy given the size and strength of the tent. Number 8 is one of my favourite little tents. It's my Lidl Crivit 2-person tent. Quite a nice one. You can see it's reasonably bulky. It comes in at 2.75 kilos, not the lightest tent, but it's a really clever design. So it's got aluminium poles that are good quality. It's got good quality, fairly lightweight aluminium pegs as well. And it's got a 3,000mm hydrodynamic head on the fly sheet. And it also came with a 3-year warranty from Lidl as well when it was first launched. So it is a really nice bit of design, this one. You can pitch it outer first, you can pitch it all in one, but you can also actually unclip the inner and just pitch in and by itself. It's got 2 sets of pole loops on the tent, so you can obviously put the poles through the outer and pitch it all in one, but you can also completely take those poles out and put the poles through the inner tent and pitch the inner on its own. So makes a really good option for a summer tent, makes a really good option for a beach tent as well. So a really flexible, smart bit of design, and I think it's pretty robust and storm worthy. I've taken up for a summit camp and Kefner Rustred 620 something like meter mountain, in pretty bad condition, heavy wind, lots of rain, and it was absolutely perfect. Double porch, plenty of interior space. It is a 2-person tent, not the most spacious 2-person tent you'll find, but you can get 2 people in there. But there's loads of headspace in there as well. So yeah, really comfortable tent, this one. And I paid £40 brand new on eBay for this tent, and I think there might still be some sellers selling it for roughly the same price, or you can certainly make them an offer on it. So yeah, one of my favourite tents, this one so far. Yeah, really good little tent. Now, in at number 7 is the Unigear Space Dome. This is quite similar to the Aldi tent in terms of being very, very tall, lots of interior space, but it's much bigger than the Aldi tent. It's got dual porches. The porches are different design each side as well, so you get 2 really different options for pitch in different directions. Really smart tent. It's got dual aluminium poles across the whole structure, and it's got 2 aluminium poles which cut across either side to pull the side right up vertically, so it's got loads of interior height right the way through the tent. Definitely a decent 2-man tent, very spacious with the dual porches as well, and I do really like this tent. This tent was £25 brand new off Facebook Marketplace. It was still sealed in its original cellophane, so an absolutely brilliant deal. Only weighs 3.1 kilos as well, which sounds like quite a lot for a two-person tent, but actually when you look at the size and the space you get, it's really, really good. So it is an inner pitch design, so you've got to put the inner up first and then put the fly sheet on top. So not the best tent in the rain, but what it does allow you to do is pitch it inner only in the summer. And it's got a wonderful mesh side panels and ceilings. So as a summer tent, you would get a little bit of shelter from the wind at your head end, but you would get absolutely amazing views above and around. So I think it's a really, really nice tent, this one, and I've been really impressed so far with the quality of the Unigear products that I have. So yeah, £25 is an absolute bargain, but you can actually pick it up brand new on eBay for around £69 to £79. So I think for sort of the £70 mark, it still represents really, really good value. And I think if you look it up on YouTube, you'll find someone's done a good rain test in the tent as well, and it is pretty robust and pretty decent. So yeah, highly recommended to keep an eye out for this one here. I was very lucky to pick it up for £25, but yeah, one of my best tents I think I've got for that sort of money. In at number 6 is a tent that started it all. The first tent I purchased for my YouTube channel cost me £25 off a Gumtree. It is a Vango Summit. It is a brilliant one-person tent. It's a random World Challenge Series tent, so it's got some branding and random logos on it, and it is a nice bright orange. So not for stealth camping, but for me, when you're out on a mountain with a lamp inside it at night, it looks absolutely brilliant lit up. It's great for photos. Really good spec as well. It's got a 5,000mm Hydrac head on the fly sheet, and I think it's got 8,000 on the ground sheet. And it's got the Powerlite T6 alloy poles as well. Very nice design tent, like an MSR kind of tent, which offers lots of interior height and space, and should be really quite robust as well. I've had it out in some pretty high winds in the Black Mountains, and it did very, very well in that. The only thing that might put people off is its inner pitch first, but again, allows you that flexibility to just use it inner only in the summer if you wanted to, because it is a little on the heavy side for one person tent at 2.15 kilos, but I think you are getting quite a lot of strength, you're getting quite a lot of interior space. For me, it's a nice spacious tent where I can get in, have my backpack in the tent with me, which is what I prefer, and also then plenty of height and space for your sleep mat and all the rest of your creature comforts and stuff. So yeah, I've got a real soft spot for this tent because it was the first one I bought, and at the time when I picked it up for £25, I did my first sub 100 YouTube video, sub £100 video, and I kind of said in that video, look, I appreciate I've got an absolute bargain with the tent. You're probably not going to get that kind of tent, but the fact I'm doing this video of 12 really, really good tents for less than £100, and that this tent only comes in at number 6 at £25, just goes to show that actually I've proven myself completely wrong, and I've managed to pick up a lot more bargains since I got this one. So yeah, one of my favourite little tents. I've had a couple of really good nights out in it, and I really want to start using it again soon as well. So I will definitely take it out this winter for a camp. Coming in at number 5 is another favourite tent. I realise I said about most of them now, but it is a Robert Saunders Space Packer tent. It is the Mark 1, the original and best version of this tent. Now, I didn't have any idea who Robert Saunders was or what this tent was. I saw it on Facebook Marketplace for £20. From the photos, it looked really interesting, so I just took a punt, just got straight in the car. I messaged the guy, got straight in the car, drove up and picked it up because it's only local. And only when I got it home did I realise for £20 I'd really picked up something quite special. Now, it is a really brilliant tent. It is recommended for mountain use. It's extremely strong, extremely well designed. The fact it's got 2 porches, it's got plenty of interior space. It is a 1 to 2 person tent, so you can get 2 people in there, but it's going to be a little bit cramped. But you could get away with it because it's got 2 really big porches as well. But for a 1-person tent, you've got loads of interior space. You've got 2 massive porches. You've got 4 doors, so you can open the sides right up to get airflow. It's a really brilliantly designed tent with just a single, really robust aluminium pole, which does make it extremely strong. And I think it's going to be my sort of go-to 4-season tent because you can pitch the fly really, really low to the ground as well, so you wouldn't get snow bounce underneath the fly sheet, and it's got a pretty much a solid inner as well, so I think it'll be quite warm and very strong for winter use. So £20, it's absolutely amazing condition as well. I've done a rain test in it. I've done a couple of camps. I've camped locally, and I've done a summit camp as well. It's just a really brilliant tent, and it weighs in about 1.9 kilos as well, so not a huge amount of weight. And with it, the ripstop nylon material, you can separate it into 2 separate bags, and it packs down to hardly anything. It's just one single aluminium pole to worry about. So yeah, fantastic tent. Probably the best £20 I've ever spent, in all honesty. It's that good, and it's such a sought after tent. So the Mark 1 is more sought after than the Mark 2, because the Mark 2 is heavier. It uses polyester rather than nylon, so it's generally considered not to be as good as the Mark 1. So yep, another great Robert Saunders tent, and makes it to number 5 in my list. Number 4 on my list is the Lichfield Treklite 200, my most recent purchase, £15 off of Facebook, in pretty good condition. I have pitched it once, I've not camped in it yet. The only downside to it is that it had a little bit of sort of mildew mould on the ground sheet inside the tent, so a little bit of a wet cloth and some cleaning fluid, and I'll clean that right up. But the rest of it looks pretty much unused. The fly sheet just looks original and stuff. So £15 is supposed to be a 2-person tent, but no, you wouldn't want to sleep 2 people in it. It's very much like the OEX Fox 2, the Audi Adventuridge 2-person tent, and a lot of other tents that are designed almost exactly the same way, with just your classic 2 poles sort of tunnel tent, and the poles are pre-shaped as well to give it a bit of extra strength and a bit of extra height. It's not curved, they are pre-shaped to give a bit of extra width. So yeah, it's quite a fetching blue colour, so it's not very good for stealth camping. And it is inner pitch first, which some people won't like, but it does go up really quickly. It's got a 3,000mm hydraulic head on the fly sheet. I'm not too sure about the ground sheet, the specs weren't given for that. And it's got aluminium poles, 2 aluminium poles, so all seems to be a pretty bog standard, pretty decent tent. Because it's quite low profile, I imagine it'll do quite well in the bad weather. And the guying out points look quite nice as well, as long as you are pitching sort of into the wind. I don't think you want to catch too much wind to the side, because it doesn't have any side guying out points. So that is what's slightly different to maybe say the Fox or the Adventuridge one. But no, it seems a pretty solid tent for £15. I don't think you can go far wrong. There's a few write-ups on the internet if you look for them, so I think people have used this in all sorts of weather, and it's been pretty reliable and stuff. So yeah, £15, good little buy that. I will take it out at some point in the next couple of months and give it a camp somewhere just to try it out. So number 3 on this list is the Action Hikelite 1-person tent. I picked this up brand new from Facebook for £10. So a really good deal. It's nice design, this one. It's very, very similar, if not pretty much identical in design to the Nordis Svalbard 1 tent, which I do own the polyester version of. It's quite a robust tent. It's very, very good in high winds. So this tent, obviously the specs aren't as impressive, but the actual, in terms of interior space and all the rest of it, is pretty much identical. It's just got different guying out points and stuff, and obviously cheaper materials. So weighs just about 2 kilos bang on. It's got a 2,000mm hydraulic head on the outer, and 2,000 on the ground sheet as well, and it's got Dura aluminium poles. So it's a classic kind of design tent. It's in a very nice bright orange colour. I've taken this up for a summit pitch in the Brecon Beacons, and it was probably the best weather I've had in terms of beautiful sunset, beautiful sunrise, amazing moon and sky. And this tent on the summit next to the cairn with a little lamp inside it and orange in colour did look absolutely brilliant in photos. So it's extremely photogenic tent. I think it's a really good little tent, this one. It's got a good blend of mesh and solid on the inner, so you shouldn't get too much condensation, but likewise you should be reasonably okay most of the year round in terms of staying reasonably warm inside the tent. So I'm not sure how robust it will be in high winds, but again, this is another tent which you can read a fair bit about online. People have definitely used them in all sorts of different conditions and stuff, and they seem to be quite reliable. And they were a tent that was eventually sold through Argos. So you will see these tents crop up on eBay and other selling sites, so it's worth looking out for. I mean, £10 I really thought it was going to be the best tent I could get for £10. I did not think I was going to get better than this one, because it's just such a good tent, and the fact it was brand new as well. It will give anyone, I'm sure, many years of good use. So yeah, I've got a soft spot for this tent just because that first camp in it was so spectacular and so good. So coming in at number 2 was my Lidl Sailbin Crivit hiking tent. £9.99 in the sale bin. Bought it a few years ago now, and I'd used it once when I was drunk and hadn't used it since. Only weighs 1.5 kilos, packs down really small as well, but there are a few sacrifices you make with this tent. For example, it is a single skin only, so yeah, makes it nice and easy to pitch, but you're going to have all sorts of issues with condensation, all the rest of it. But it has got a hydraulic header of 2,000 millimeters, and I'm assuming that's pretty much the same for the ground sheet as well as the fly sheet. It is actually a really nice design, this one. I like the look of it. I like the shape and the feel of it, and I like the fact that if you pitch it in the right direction to the wind will go over the tent quite nicely, which is just as well, because the other drawback is not just that it's single skin, but it's the only tent on this list that has fiberglass poles. So all the other tents I've picked up have got robust aluminium poles. This tent, right in the bargain basement at £9.99, only has one aluminium pole across the length of it, and then it's got an aluminium A-frame pole at the front. Now, when it is pitched, it's extremely stable and sturdy. It really is rock solid, but you just don't know how much pressure that pole can take. So I've taken it for a camp in the Brecon Beacons. I didn't do a summit camp. I did a side of a big hill camp, a little bit of shelter, because I was a little bit nervous about some of the wind and rain that was going to happen that night. But it was absolutely fine. I really enjoyed my night in there. It's supposed to be a 2-person tent, but it is absolutely not a 2-person tent. It's absolutely fine for one person in your gear, but with 2 people, I mean, you'd spend all your time in the tent just brushing the single skin outer tent and getting absolutely soaking wet and covered in condensation and stuff. So got a soft spot for this tent just because randomly I did that review of it, or that overview of it, on YouTube, and that video has had nearly 100,000 views now, and that video basically got me, my 1,000 subscribers got me qualified to monetize the channel and stuff. And then I did a second one of it in my garden just on a rain test, and that's had nearly 100,000 views as well. So I don't know why it's so popular, but people just seem to absolutely love clicking on videos of this tent. So I guess I have to make another one soon. A lot of people on the rain tent and the rain test said I didn't sleep in it, which was kind of cheating. So this winter I will have to take it out in heavy rain, camp in it, and basically get soaking wet and be miserable all night, just for some views, because it seems like a fun thing to do. So I will definitely do that at some point. And part of me really wants to take it out for a snow camp as well. But I've got so many tents I want to take out in the snow. I'm not sure if we'll get that much snow this winter. But yeah, really cool little tent, but obviously some pretty major drawbacks. So the number 1 tent, it is the Aldi Adventuridge 2-person tent. Now, I've camped in this tent twice. I've done an overview on the channel, I've done a video on it versus the little 2-man tent, and that was all when it was $49.99 in store. However, this particular actual tent I picked up last week in Aldi in the sale bin for $7.99, and I'm not alone as well. Other people have messaged me on the channel saying they've also picked it up for $7.99, which just makes it the biggest bargain on this list, I think. I got some really good tents for less than £100. I got some really expensive tents, like the Vango Summit's a reasonably expensive tent. The Vaude Arco 3-piece, a reasonably expensive tent. So for £58 and £25 for those 2 tents, they are really good value for money. But I think just in sheer terms of, this was a reasonably good value tent at $49.99. It's got 2 aluminium poles. It's strong, it's robust, it's low profile, it's very much like a Fox 2 camp design. So I think at $49.99 it was a good value tent, but $7.99 the value's just out of this world. I mean, you just cannot go wrong. Weighs in at 1.7 kilos. It's supposed to be a two-person tent, but it is absolutely not a two-person tent in my opinion, because you have got it narrowing at the feet end and stuff, and it's not a particularly long tent either. So I think for one person in gear, it's really, really spacious. I've done a second summit camp in this tent last night, and it was absolutely fine, albeit a little bit chilly with all the mesh and stuff. But it's got a 3,000mm Hydrotrack head. It's low profile, it's robust. I've taken out in two summit camps. The first one was really windy, it was absolutely fine. And last night, there was definitely some bit of wind at times as well, and it handled it absolutely fine. So yeah, it's a really robust little tent. For 50 quid it was okay value. For £7.99, I mean, I don't know if they're still in store now, because this was last week I bought mine, and I bought the last one from my local store. I've not tried other local stores, but I've heard other people have picked up the same bargain as well. So yeah, if it's £7.99, you just got to go and buy it. It is a great little tent for the money. Not my favourite tent. I don't have I don't have the same kind of emotional attachment to this tent as I do with some of the others on this list. But no, I think for sheer value for money, it enabled me to get a full loadout for less than 35 quid. So yeah, amazing value for money. And yeah, just a really good entry into wild camping, because it is pretty stealthy. Low profile gives it a really good wind resistance and strength as well. So, you know, I'm sure in the instructions it says do not take it up a mountain, but I have, and I've been absolutely fine in it, because as long as you pitch it in a reasonable location, because it's low profile and stuff, it is going to handle the weather pretty well. So yes, there we have it. Number one, Aldi Adventuridge two-person tent, £7.99, absolute bargain. So there we have it. That's my 12 bargain tents. Now I've got other camping gear for absolutely ridiculously low prices as well. I've got some really good bargains just across the board, from tarps and bivvies to backpacks and sleep mats and all the rest of it, which again you'll see in other videos. You'll see when I'm doing my sub £100 loadouts that I've got some really good quality gear, some good backpacks, some good sleep mats, some good bits and pieces for less than £100 all in. So how do I do it? I've had a few comments on the channel saying whenever I look on Facebook or Gumtree or eBay, it's all big family tents going cheap and stuff. There's very few small little hiking tents. And yeah, you're absolutely right. They don't come up very often, so you've got to be really persistent. So that's my first point, is be persistent. You've got to keep checking those places. You've got to keep on top of Facebook Marketplace. If you're on Gumtree, if you're on eBay, you can set up search alerts for certain keywords, certain phrases and stuff, so that you'll get notified if certain things are listed as well. But on a site like Facebook, it is just trial and error. It's just constantly searching it. So search first thing in the morning, search after work, search in the evenings and stuff, and eventually something will crop up locally to you that you can pick up for a really good price. Hence this big pile of tents at my feet right now. The other thing is as well is don't be afraid to trust the odd person and offer them money if they're quite a long way away and ask them to post it. So I've had a couple of tents now posted to me, some of them reasonably high value as well. And generally I found everyone to be very trustworthy. I've had the tents and they've been in the condition that they've been described as. So it's definitely been worth a punt for a couple of the tents I've had delivered. My second tip is look for brands that aren't very popular in the UK. So Vaude and Jack Wolfskin don't tend to be very popular in the UK, but they're really good quality gear. So that's how I was able to get that Vaude Arco 3-person tent for £58 including postage, because no one else bid on it. Not a single other person bid on that tent, even though it's a really, really good piece of kit, a brilliant condition, original footprint, all the rest of it. £58 including postage. So do look for those two brands in particular, because you'll get quite good deals on them, because they just don't seem to be as popular as other kind of stuff. So you won't find MSR tents cheap, you won't find a lot of the tents cheap, but you will find Jack Wolfskin, Vaude tents in the UK, really good prices. Even if you're spending like £100, you still get some really, really top gear for that kind of money. The third tip with eBay is look for things that are ending at random times. So if it's ending at 7 o'clock in the evening, especially on a Sunday night, going to be loads of people bidding on that, because everyone's at home, they're sat on their phones, they're bidding on stuff on eBay. if someone's listed it like a maniac, it finishes at 7 a.m. in the morning, stick that on your watch list because that's going to go cheap. Any time during the day, it's going to go cheap as well. So just constantly check tents on eBay and look at when they're ending. If they're ending during the day, early in the morning, 2 a.m. and stuff, you do get this sometimes, then those are the ones to put on your watch list and then bid. And when you are going to bid, don't bid like days in advance because that's just going to get other people bidding against you, and if the price is going to be pushed well up, don't bid until the last 10 seconds. If it's on for a starting bid of £20, so wait till the last 10 seconds, get your bids up in advance, maybe, I don't know how much you want to pay. If you're willing to pay £45 and just stick £45 and 87 pence or something on there, hit bid with 10 seconds to go, and if no one else bids on it, you win it for the opening bid price, which is what happened with the Vaude tent. So that's another good tip as well, is just bid late, watch items that end at dodgy times, and you'll pick up some really good bargains. It's the same with Gumtree really. Check Gumtree, set up an alert for like tent or hiking or camping, and then you'll get notified on a daily basis of when new things are listed within those items there. And then again, it's just checking. I've only picked up one tent from Gumtree, which is the Vango Summit. So there's not been a great deal of other gear on Gumtree. Facebook Marketplace has been my best place for getting tents. So I think if I could recommend one platform to get the absolute bargains, then Facebook Marketplace is the way to go. A lot of people who clear out their attics or sheds and stuff and they find these kind of tents, it's Facebook they're going to go to, and often they just want to get rid of them. So they'll just stick them on Facebook just to get rid of it. I recently picked up 4 OEX Traverse self-inflating sleep mats, and they're in store for about 20-25 quid each. I picked up 4 in immaculate condition, only ever used once, for £10. £10 for all 4 of them. When I went to pick them up, the guy was like, well, we were just going to throw them out really, but it felt shame. So I just thought, well, if someone will pick them up for a tenner, we'll just try and get rid of them. And if he hadn't sold them that week, he was going to bin them. So there are some crazy people out there listing stuff on Facebook. So that is my sort of top tips really. My partner will moan at me because she's obviously right. I spend too much time on my phone, but that's what I'm doing. I'm constantly trawling Facebook. I'm trawling eBay. I'm trawling that. I'm looking at all different brands. I'm looking at all different search terms, trying to find this stuff. So I guess it's been 6 months of doing this. I've got 12 really good quality tents, all of them less than £100, a lot of them less than £25. So it can be done. And yeah, just be persistent, keep at it, and you'll find bargains. And yeah, like some gear, it's really easy. It's easy to find backpacks that are cheap. It's quite easy to find sleep mats for reasonable prices. Quite a lot of sleeping bags on there and stuff. It's just trying to pick out which bits are actually quality kit that you want to use. Because obviously for me, I do it for the channel, so I do buy a random tent, which I may not ever use more than a couple of times before I sell it on. But for you, try and pick out the gear that's right for you, so you don't end up sort of buying loads of random stuff like I have. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed a quick look at my tent collection. I'm going to stick at it. I'm going to keep looking for other tents I can find, other bargains and stuff, and see what I can come up with. If you are new to the channel, do subscribe. Do check out my other videos. You would have seen from the footage used in this video that I've been out and camped in a lot of this stuff. A lot of the camps have been done in conjunction with a load of other bargain gear as well. So do look at my wild camping videos, do look at my budget gear videos, do look at my tent reviews and stuff, because you'll see all of these bargains sort of put through their paces. So yeah, hit subscribe. If you like the video, drop me a like. And yes, I will catch you in the next one. And the next video I think is going to be my £34.98 camp, which I did last night, which was a good one, so don't miss it. Thanks for watching.